My girlfriends and I, we get together and think about how we survived all these things. Like we used to we used to cut school. We used to hitchhike to the beach near our school. It was called Orchard Beach. It's in the Bronx. It borders City Island, which is our seafood area. And I can't tell you how many times we hitchhiked to that beach. And not once, and I can tell you literally not one time did it ever cross our minds that these guys weren't going to take us to the beach because we're young and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
No one warned us and said, you shouldn't do stuff like that. Yeah, we knew you shouldn't like go on a highway and hitchhike. Like, yeah.
Right.
But like a couple of 18-year-olds from the neighborhood driving to the beach that we're going to and we're on the bus. No, we're going to get a ride.
Would these be people that you like kind of sort of recognize from their neighborhood or literally be like complete strangers, but just from this neighborhood in general?
Both. We knew they were from the neighborhood because we like you can tell the accents for who's from Brooklyn, who's from Staten Island. Like, so I knew that it was a Bronx accent, but were these like my homies from school from the neighborhood? No. It never even crossed our minds. These guys weren't going to take us to the
motherfuckers take a detour.
No.
Then they tell you, oh, it's cool. We're just going to pick up somebody else. Hey, just come on in. We're going to grab some drinks or whatever.
If they had said that, we would have said okay. But even if they'd said that, we would have been like, okay.
Right. They're going to gaslight you up until they get you alone.
Up until you have
and locked in some place where can't nobody hear you screaming. And before you know it, it's a nightmare.
Well, remember that? Do you remember that time when I almost got kidnapped in Fremont when I went to go?
I wasn't going to say nothing.
And I was a grown woman.
I remember that.
At that point.
Those fools.
And those fools. So to give a recap, I was looking for a car that I wanted to buy flat out in cash because I didn't want a car payment. Because you know how those Berkeley days were.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up cars on Craigslist and I went to several. Looked at cars. Thank you, sir, for all men. No problems. This Saturday afternoon at 12 p.m., I take the BART train down to Fremont Avenue to go look at a car.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get off the BART train, I call the dude and I'm like, hey, I'm here to look at the car. Now, the car I was going to look at, he said, by the way, that car, I don't have it anymore. I just sold it. But I've got another one that I'm here in that I can show you that's similar. And I've got a few more at my lot. So I said, oh, okay. Where are you? Because there's always a lot of cars in front of the BART, like, people getting picked up, whatnot. So he flashes his lights. It's him and a friend in the front seat of a car that very much fits the description of the car that I was looking at, but it was a different color because, like he said,
you got a story for
sold the other one. But I was looking at say Nissans or something. So he was in a Nissan. So he's like, I have other ones. He gets out, shows me the car. And he's like, is this something that's of interest to you? This how many miles that if you want to take it to the mechanic, totally normal, comfortable conversation, just like all the other half a dozen I had prior to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, but I have other cars. If you want to take a look at them while you're here, I'm just a few blocks from here. If you want, I'll just give you a ride. I said, no problem. Okay, let's go look at them. I get in the back seat of the car. He gets in the driver's seat. There's a guy in the passenger seat. As we're driving, I happen to take out a pack of cigarettes and ask him, I said, hey, do you mind if I smoke? And he said, no. What is interesting to me about that to this day, that even though I am not a big God person, I know that day was divine intervention. And the reason I know that to my core is because I hadn't smoked cigarettes in over a decade. And for some reason, I just bought a pack of cigarettes that morning. And I asked the guy, can I light up in the car? So I light up, I smoke the cigarette, and I flick it outside the window, kind of like New York style. And within seconds of me doing that, I hear police sirens behind the car. So we pull over, the cops get out, and they ask this guy for his license and registration. The other cop says to me in the meantime, ma'am, are you with these guys? Like, what's your relationship to these guys? And I said, well, I don't know these guys. I'm just going to look at a car. They're going to show me a car. But, officer, I think that this is kind of strange that you're stopping us because is it because I threw a cigarette out the window? this is racist because, of course, you're in the Bay Area, right? So you think everything involved with like police. I was like, and they're like, yeah, we are pulling you over because you threw a cigarette out the window. And I was like, yeah, but this seems like a lot for a cigarette. So the officer asks all three of us to get out of the car. So now, of course, I'm offended. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. Like now you're asking us to get out of the vehicle and you're checking the vehicle. You don't have a warrant. This is infringement of our rights. Like this is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to Berkeley right now. I'm going to get in touch with the Law Society that I am literally on the board of. Like this is nuts.
Yeah. Like y'all fuck with the wrong one. President of the Latino Pre-Law Society literally knows the Dean of Hastings. Like
what are you doing right now?
Yeah,
and I was like,
I'll have
gentlemen,
a lawsuit on your desk in 24 hours.
Right. Like I was like, gentlemen, just don't say anything, So one of the police officers.
You got into lawyer mode.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, like if you're going to kill us, I'm pulling out my cell phone. Like I'm texting people. I'm on the side of the road. I think I might have even messaged you. Like, I was like, this is what's happening. So the police officer handcuffs the driver. And I'm like, what? All over a cigarette? Like, I'm still thinking that all of this happened because I threw a lit cigarette out the window.
Mm-hmm.
So the other police officer says, ma'am, I need to speak to you. And he takes me to the side and he said, I'm not going to get into the details of why that guy's getting arrested because that's his personal business. And it's really not for me to share with you his business.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, but let me tell you something. That guy's a bad guy. And if you notice, he didn't even fight us. And the guy didn't. Like they handcuffed him. He got quietly in the backseat of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, this guy is pretty calm. I was more worked up than he was.
Right.
And the police officer said, he knows why he's getting arrested right now. So you need to decide if you want to stay here with this guy and this car, or if you want to come with us. I'm thinking to myself, what do I do? Stay with the African-American, gentleman who's taking me to see a car, or go with the racist police officers? I don't know what to do. I'm on the side of the road, on the side of the BART. Like I'm very frazzled. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, but I don't try, this situation just doesn't seem appropriate for a cigarette. And now you're asking me to go with you. I don't feel safe with you, officer. And this guy's saying to me like, oh, you're going to leave me, with this car. Like you're going to just break out. So I started to get like really stressed.
Oh, the guy who was in the passenger seat started guilt tripping you.
Yes. Like you're really going to leave with them. You're going to just like leave me here, like stranded with this car. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So the police officer says to me again, but there was something about the way he said it to me. Like he looked at me and he said, do you want to stay with this guy or do you want to come with us? And there was something about the way he said it that chills ran through me. And I said, I'm going to come with you. And he was like, good. But I'm still scared because I don't know if my decision's right. I just know that there was something about the way he said it to me the second time that I felt like he was saying to me, ma'am, you need to come with us.
Right.
Like I'm telling you, you need to come with us.
Yeah.
Like real talk.
Yeah. It's a choice, but
I'm like that.
Yeah. Saying it in a way that you hopefully get some context here that he probably just can't necessarily say specifically.
He could not tell me because I don't know this. This is really, he can't really just blast his shit like that. And so far I couldn't say that these cops were being aggressive or everything was very calm, which is what was so weird to me. It wasn't this like throw him on the ground, handcuff it. Like they were like, sir, you're coming with us. And the guy was like, all right. It was
he knows why he's getting arrested.
He knows why he's getting arrested.
Saying about your cigarette.
This ain't about your cigarettes. But I'm still like, I can't believe all this for me. I'm so sorry. Like I'm apologizing to these guys. Like I'm thinking I got them fucked up. I'm like crying.
Because you're empathetic. You're thinking that, yeah.
I'm thinking I did some, there goes my New York shit again. I just flick a lit cigarette out the window. I didn't really know it was serious out here, but that's serious in California. You will get pulled over for that. Yeah. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, there's signs all over the place. $1,000 fine for littering. Yeah.
It's a big fucking deal. You cannot throw a lit cigarette out of a car. Who knew? I've done this a million times in New York. I get in the car with the police officer. The other one takes the guy and I'm in this other police car. I don't know if another car pulled up. I can't really remember it all now, but I'm driving alone with the police officer. And he's like, where do you need to go? And I was like, Berkeley. And I can't remember if he took me to like a bar more inland near Berkeley, like dropped me in Oakland and just got me out of Fremont, or if he took me all the way to Berkeley. I can't remember. But I know that the drive was long enough for him to say to me, he goes, ma'am, you sound like you're from the East Coast. And I said, yeah, I'm from New York. He goes, then let me talk to you in a language you'll understand. You are slipping right now. And I remember him saying that to me because it cracked me up that he knew that expression, because it is an East Coast expression. You're slipping right now. He goes, I'm not talking to you as a police officer. I'm talking to you as a father, as a brother, as an uncle. Those guys that you were with were not taking you to see a car. And I start bawling. Because again, there was something about his delivery that I knew he was telling me the truth. He goes, let me tell you something. The one that got arrested, he said, number one, you notice how he didn't argue with us. He knew. He said, number two, do you know what was in his back pocket of his jeans? And I was like, his wallet? And he was like, no, condoms. And I was like, all right, like, yeah. He was like, I'm going to tell you this as a man. That's not where men carry condoms. Like, men don't walk around with condoms in their back pocket at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday unless they're about to use it. Like, anything, that's not the location.
Spare condom in a wallet, but you don't just in your back pocket on a Saturday afternoon. You ain't at the Freaknik. What the fuck?
Right. He was like, wherever you were going, you were done. He said, and we didn't pull you over just because of the cigarette. The cigarette drew our attention to the car because the car did not have license plates on the front or the back. He goes, and you didn't notice that.
You didn't notice it.
I am not thinking I'm about to either be raped or sold to the, Kazakhstani and human trafficking team at 12 o'clock in the afternoon after getting off a BART train in Fremont. Like, but that's how these things happen. It comes out of like, I cried the whole ride with that police officer, the whole ride home. Oh yeah. And it was only after I got home, I remember then I called you crying, saying, I can't, like, my day was over. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying home for the whole rest of the day because I did fuck up. I was slipping. He was like, you got in a car with two dudes you don't know, in a car that wasn't the car you said you came to look at, with no license plates, going to a location you don't know. None of that makes any sense. And I was like, you're right. Like, I can't be like, this cop's racist. Like,
no, can't. That's why he said you slipping. Because if I know you, if you was on your game, you would have saw that. ... Yep, nope. I'll see you guys later. Something came up. Send me pictures of these cars at your lot. If
right.
Yeah.
And then I think how oblivious I was going to all the other cars by myself. At no point did I think I was in a dangerous situation. So at what age do we start having these conversations and discussing these things so that we have some precautions and preventative measures in place rather than constantly having to react after the damage is already done and lives are destroyed? At what age is too young knowing that babies get molested?
Right.
Where do we start? Where do we stop? I don't know. What I know is that 30 years old, I got into a car with two dudes. I did not see their ID, with a car that wasn't the vehicle that matched the description of what I was looking at, with no license plate in the front or the back. And I got in consensually and was willing to go to a location, really thinking I was going to a car lot, like a used car lot. I genuinely thought I was going to like a used car lot.
Yeah. Yeah. You saw this guy, Craigslist. Yeah. He flips cars on Craigslist, easy enough story to believe.
And I just did this with 9 other people.
Right.
I had not smoked cigarettes since that day. Like, years went by before I had another cigarette again. I don't know what made me buy a pack of cigarettes that day. But it's one of the preventative measures that women are taught in sexual assault classes and preventative measure classes is to carry cigarettes so that you always have a reason to have a lighter on you, because a fire can make all the difference sometimes. If you can get to your lighter, if you're, hemmed up, or you can light a sprinkler or light paper or something, it's always good to have fire on you.
Better to have it than not. Shit.
Right. So something that we need to talk about, because if we don't, we're going to keep developing a society full of child molesters, which is not the same as pedophilia.